Feelings of desperation. This is what happened to me after many years of drinking. I had a few incidents around 2010 where I stopped drinking, relapsed. I've been off for a little while. Started drinking again 2014, and I wasn't feeling very well really. I just drank to keep myself going, I suppose. Got into a bit of a rut. I wasn't desperate then really, but moving on to 2019, feeling terrible, starting to lose a bit of weight. Feelings that I was a bit desperate, thinking, how am I going to get out of this rut? The doctors wouldn't give me any medication. Suggested the AA, things like that, which I did try, but it was no good for me. I needed some medical intervention, to be honest, but I didn't get any. However, 2019 comes along, and I was so ill I had to call an ambulance, and then I was desperate. I'm quite a strong person, but I was desperate then. I was desperate for help. And I had this swollen stomach. I lost a lot of weight, looked dreadful, grey. I had no shave for days. Hair was all mank and just horrible length, sorry. I was a mess, mentally and physically. Anyway, they put me into this section of the hospital called ambulatory care, and I read the notice, and it said, this is for people who can maybe be treated quickly here and then released. I thought, I can't be on with that. I need to get admitted here, the state I'm in, you know. And I was desperate to get admitted to hospital, was what it was, because I thought, surely these people help me. And as it happened, 12 hours later, I was admitted. And I still didn't know what was wrong with me. It just felt awful. So, following that, it was a Wednesday when I got admitted. Thursday, this nurse came in about 1 o'clock in the morning. It'd be Thursday night, Friday morning, and said, we're going to take some of this fluid off you, but needs a doctor to do it. He'll be along in about half an hour. And they put this needle into my stomach area and took all the fluid off my stomach. I didn't know still hadn't been told what was wrong with me at this point. And I was desperate for information, desperate to get well again. And as time went on, I just thought, I'm going to die in here. I felt worse and worse and worse. Eventually a doctor came along and said, you know, you're ill with alcohol, this and the other, been a build-up problems, you've got ascites fluid, and you've got spontaneous bacterial peritonitis, all this sort of thing. And I just felt as if my life was crumbling. The world was crumbling, really. And that was in the October. I did 2 weeks in there and I felt rotten. I couldn't even go home. I had to go and live with elderly parents for a short while because I was so ill. I went back again to another hospital in Newcastle, the Freeman Hospital, which specialises in liver and gastro medicine, and I'd already built up some more of this fluid. Anyway, they took me in again, and he did some blood checks, and he said, oh, your sodium level's low, just the salt level, but we're still going to have to take this fluid off. It's too dangerous to keep it in. Or keep it in, as it were. It was in my stomach, wasn't it? It was in this peritoneum, the lining or something. Anyway, they drained it off, and I had a seizure that night, and I ended up in intensive care. That is desperation. I was clinging on to my life, really. And as time went on, I had various things done to me, and I eventually recovered. But what I'm going to talk about is desperation. When you get to that point, you do wonder, why did I drink? Why didn't I realise something was going wrong? Why didn't I stop? Why didn't I get help earlier? Why didn't I do this, that and the other? And you become quite weak-minded, I suppose, is the best way, because from being a strong person, as being very independent, you then become reliant on others to do everything for you. And that's one of the most frightening parts about it. Obviously, the fact that you might die is the main problem, the most imminent problem, but you feel like helpless, and you cannot see any future forward at that point. So for two years I was at that point when I was in and out of hospital. I've never had depression, but I think I probably got a touch of it when I had that constant hospital admission phase. There's 5 major hospitals in this area, and I had bed and breakfast at them all of them. One of them I was in for 12 weeks, one spell, 12 weeks in hospital. You become so institutionalised where it becomes a norm. But people be waiting you every 4 hours and checking your vital signs, doing your blood pressure. Every other day doing your blood. They couldn't take it out every day, otherwise there'd be no veins left. So they were doing blood tests. Eventually, I don't know what happened, but something kicked in and I managed to come round a little bit and got better. And determination, I don't know what it was. An angel on my shoulder, a will to live, I suppose. And I got better slowly. And after my dad passed away in July 2021, I had to get moving then. Because I'd been weak, I couldn't walk properly, I was in a wheelchair. And from then, we just got this massive spirit, and I felt, you've got to push yourself on. And I watched a video from a cancer specialist, actually, who said, you've got to do two things when you're very unwell. And you don't want to do these things when you feel very unwell. And that is exercise and eat. Now, I started doing both of those a little bit at a time. Food was very restricted. I couldn't have too much salt, no added salt in my diet. I started drinking a lot of water and obviously no alcohol at all. And I started on a sort of clean diet, really. Nice clean diet, which is, fruit and veg and all this kind of bit of fish, a bit of meat. And I started to walk a little bit because I'd been in a wheelchair before. I couldn't walk 10 yards. 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago. 10 yards. Now I can do numerous thousand steps now. I just pushed myself, got stronger and stronger and stronger. And you can do this yourself. You've got to be headstrong. You've got to be determined that you want to get well. Because the drink will kill you if you don't fight it. And I was weak a few times. I relapsed. For various reasons. Not because I had any cravings. One was because of a relationship that went a bit sour. Another time I just fancied a drink. But I never craved it. And when I was off for 8 years and I relapsed, that was probably the saddest time of my life. I thought, I'm back on it, can't get off. But 5 years on, life's really good. And I know I could never ever touch a drink. I know that if I have one drink, as David Bowie said, I'll be dead. Because one drink will lead to 10 drinks and 20 drinks. I've done it before. Been sober for 8 years. Within 5 to 6 months of being sober for 8 years, I was in a desperate state. Desperate for help. Bottom of the bottle again. You've got to watch yourself with this. It's a very, very toxic substance. It's ethanol, which is poison. It's widely advertised, widely available, and it's socially acceptable. It should be abolished, to be honest. Because I know most of us will say, well, I don't drink that much. Most people do drink too much. The people in the pubs all day drink too much, obviously, don't they? I've lost 5 sort of old friends or acquaintances this year, all through alcohol-related problems. Pancreatitis, a couple of strokes, heart attacks, one accident. All linked. There's so many deaths linked to alcohol. You never get the true figures. If you need any advice, practical advice, I'm not a doctor, but I can give you some practical advice. Drop me a line. If you want to make any comments, please do. But be very careful if you're still drinking, because it will catch up with you. Believe you me. Speak soon.